People think gold purity is something you only learn at a refinery. But the truth is, the first mistake happens long before that. It happens the moment you trust color. Because in the field, color is loud, it's emotional, it feels certain. And that's exactly why it misleads people. So today we're talking about gold purity and why looks like gold is not the same as is gold, and definitely not the same as is high purity. Let me start with a simple statement that sounds obvious, but saves people from expensive assumptions. Gold has color. But color does not prove purity. In fact, two pieces can look almost identical in a pan and still be very different in what they're worth, how they behave, and what they tell you about the ground. Now, I'm going to keep this practical. No chemistry lecture, no fake certainty. I'll explain what purity actually means, why natural gold rarely comes out as pure, what changes its color, and how you can avoid being fooled. And I'm going to give you a few field-safe checks that help you make better decisions without needing a lab. First, what do we mean by purity? Purity is basically the percentage of gold in the metal. If something is 24 karat, that's essentially pure gold. If it's 18 karat, that means it's 75% gold. If it's 14 karat, that's about 58.5% gold. And here's the key. Natural gold, placer gold, river gold, is often not 24 karat. It usually contains other metals mixed into the structure, most commonly silver, sometimes copper, sometimes traces of other things, depending on the source. That mixture is called an alloy. And alloys change color. So if you're looking at a piece and thinking, this one is more yellow, so it must be more pure, you might be right, but you might also be completely wrong. Because color is influenced by more than purity. In the field, color gets distorted by lighting, wetness, surface coatings, oxidation stains, and even how your eyes adapt after staring at black sand. Black sand is basically an Instagram filter for your vision. After 10 minutes, everything looks like treasure. Let's break down the most common ways color misleads people. Mislead number 1. Wet gold looks richer. When gold is wet, it reflects light differently. It often looks deeper, warmer, more buttery. That doesn't mean higher karat. It means water is changing the surface reflection. Mislead number 2. Iron staining and coatings. Fine gold can pick up stains, reddish, brownish, from iron oxides in the concentrates. That can make it look darker or more orange. Sometimes it makes non-gold look goldish too. Mislead number 3. Thin flakes versus chunky pieces. Thin flakes can look bright because they catch light at angles. Chunky pieces can look dull because their surface is rough. People assume bright equals pure. Not necessarily. So here's my personal rule. I never grade gold by color in the pan. In the pan, I only use color for one thing: confirmation that it's likely gold. And even then, I confirm with behavior. Because behavior is harder to fake than color. So in the next part, I'm going to show you the behaviors that matter. How real gold moves, how it settles, how it bends, and why those clues tell you more than how yellow it looks. And then we'll connect it back to purity. what purity actually changes and what it doesn't. Let's go there. All right, let's talk about behavior. Because in the field, behavior will tell you more truth than color ever will. When something is actually gold, it tends to do three things consistently. It settles fast, it stays low, and it moves in a very specific way when you tilt and tap the pan. The reason is simple physics. Gold is dense, very dense. So when you give the pan water motion and vibration, gold wants to drop through the lighter material and park. That's why the classic gold stays while sand runs effect happens. So here are the field behaviors I pay attention to. Behavior 1. How it settles. Real gold doesn't hover. It doesn't float. It doesn't drift slowly like mica. It drops and it hugs the bottom. If a shiny particle keeps dancing in suspension, it may look like gold in the light, but it's behaving like something lighter. Behavior 2. How it walks when you tap. When you tap the side of the pan gently, heavies will step down. Gold tends to move in short, heavy steps, not in long, gliding slides. You're basically watching the difference between a heavy object that needs force to move and a light flake that rides the water film. Behavior 3. How it reacts when you change angle. When you tilt the pan slightly and wash, gold resists movement. It wants to stay. A lot of lookalikes move too easily. Now, this is important. These behaviors help you decide, is it likely gold? But they do not tell you purity. Because purity is not the same thing as density in a simple way. Pure gold is extremely dense, but natural gold is often mixed with silver or other metals. That can change density slightly, and it can change color a lot. But it still behaves like a heavy metal in the pan. So behavior tells you identity more than purity. Which brings us to the core lesson. People try to read purity by eye. They see more yellow and assume more karat. That can mislead you for two reasons. Reason 1. Lighting and coatings change appearance. Wetness, glare, and iron staining can make gold look warmer or darker. Reason 2. Silver-rich gold can still look yellow in certain light, and high-purity gold can look dull if it's rough or coated. So if you want to understand purity, you need to understand what actually changes gold's color. Here's the simplest explanation that's scientifically correct. When gold is mixed with silver, the alloy tends to look paler, more light yellow. This is common in some placer gold and is often called electrum. When gold has more copper influence, it can look warmer, more orange or reddish. That can happen naturally depending on the source, and it can also be affected by surface stains. But here's the trap. Surface color is not bulk composition. A thin coating can change what your eyes see, even though the metal underneath is the same. So judging purity by color is like judging someone's health by the color of their shirt. Now, I want to give you a practical way to think about this. In the field, your job is not to guess karat. Your job is to avoid wrong assumptions. Because wrong assumptions lead to two mistakes. You overvalue what you have, and you misread what the gold is telling you about the source. So next, I'm going to give you field-safe checks that reduce the chance of being fooled by color. And I'll explain what each check can and cannot prove. Let's do that. let's do the field-safe checks. I'm going to be careful here. There's a big difference between checks that help you avoid being fooled and tests that prove purity. In the field, you can't truly measure karat with your eyes. You can only reduce error and avoid bad assumptions. So, these checks are about clarity. They answer, is it likely gold, and what might be affecting the color? Not what exact karat is it. Check 1. The simple re-wet test. Dry the piece on your finger or on a cloth, then wet it again. Watch how the color shifts. If the golden look disappears when it's dry, that tells you the shine was mostly reflection. It doesn't prove it's fake, but it proves your eyes were being helped by water. Check 2. The shadow test. Move the piece into shade. Not full darkness, just shade. Then back into direct light. Real gold tends to keep a stable, warm tone. Many lookalikes flash bright in sun and go dull or grey in shade. Again, this is not a purity test. It's a stop believing glare test. Check 3. The behavior confirmation. You already heard this. Settle, tap, tilt. Does it hug the bottom? Does it step like a heavy? Does it resist movement? If it behaves like a light flake, I stop caring what color it is. Check 4. The bend, don't shatter idea. Carefully explained. People online say gold is soft, so it bends. That's true in principle, but it's not a clean field test for tiny flakes in a pan. With very fine pieces, you can't safely squeeze them and learn much. You can crush it, lose it, or just fool yourself. So what do I do instead? I don't do a crush test in the pan. I treat softness as a lab or control check later. Check 5. Remove the coating. A lot of color confusion comes from surface coatings, iron oxide stains, clay films, organic gunk. If you can rinse and gently rub the piece in clean water, you can sometimes reveal a truer color underneath. But be careful. Don't grind it. Don't destroy it. Don't lose it. This is a gentle clean, not a test of strength. Now, let's address the main misunderstanding I see. People assume purity is the same as how yellow it looks. That's not reliable. In natural placer gold, color is influenced by the alloy composition, the surface condition, and the viewing conditions. So what can you do if you actually need to know purity? The honest answer is, you need a proper test. Acid testing, XRF, fire assay, methods that measure, not guess. But here's the practical reality for most people watching. You don't need exact karat to make good field decisions. You need to avoid being misled by color, so you don't misread the ground and you don't misvalue your jar. Because purity affects value, but it also tells you something about the source. For example, silver-rich gold, electrum, can suggest a particular type of source chemistry upstream. Warmer gold can suggest different alloying influences. But, and this is important, you should never build a geological story from color alone. You build it from patterns, repeatability across samples, consistent behavior, and where the gold shows up relative to contacts and traps. So now, I want to bring this back to the title. Why color misleads you? Because color tempts you to conclude too early. It tempts you to label something high purity or low purity before you've confirmed what you're even looking at. And early conclusions create bad decisions.
Next, I'll give you the clean takeaway, how I personally treat color in the field, what I use it for, what I never use it for, and the one line I want you to remember every time you see a perfect yellow flash. Let's close it properly. All right, let's close this in a practical way. Here's how I personally treat color in the field. I use color as a clue. I never use it as a conclusion. Color can tell you, pay attention. It can tell you, this might be gold. It can tell you, this piece might have a different alloy mix than the last one. But color cannot tell you purity with confidence. Not in a pan, not in changing light, not with wet sand, coatings and glare. So my field mindset is simple. Step 1. Confirm identity by behavior. Settle, tap, tilt. Does it hug the bottom? Does it step like a heavy? Does it resist movement? Step 2. Remove obvious distortion. Shade test. Re-wet test. Gentle clean if it's coated. Step 3. If purity matters for value, I don't guess. I measure later with a proper method. Because guessing feels good, but measuring is what pays. Color is like a salesman. Very convincing. Not legally responsible. Now, let me give you a quick mental checklist you can remember. If it shines, change the light. If it looks richer wet, test it dry. If it looks orange or dark, check for staining. If it looks too perfect, confirm with behavior. If you need purity, don't guess. Test properly. And here's the deeper point, the one that actually matters. When you trust color too early, you don't just misjudge purity, you misjudge the ground. You start telling yourself stories. This is high-grade gold, so I must be close to the source. Or, this looks pale, so it must be low quality. And those stories can push you into wrong decisions, digging the wrong layer, staying in the wrong zone, or quitting a spot that was actually giving you consistent signals. In my experience, the river doesn't reward confidence. It rewards consistency. So here's the one line I want you to remember. This is the point of the whole video. Color is a signal to slow down, not a reason to decide. If you treat color like a clue and confirm with behavior, you stay scientific, you stay honest, and you stop getting fooled by your own eyes. If you want, comment what you found. Was it bright yellow, pale yellow, or orange toned? And what it did in the pan when you tapped and tilted? I'll tell you what I think is going on and what I would do next to confirm it safely. See you in the next one.